You never know what could be lurking around any corner here in these cemeteries, you know? You just never know. Today's episode is going to be a little bit of a ghost story. Also, a historical ghost story. And looming in the distance, you can see above the tree line, is downtown Orlando, which is rather fitting because there's a lot of celebrities in here who kind of named the streets and things of Orlando. A lot of names, big names, if you are a local here in Greenwood Cemetery. And today we are going to be talking about Mr. Fred Weeks. We are going to be finding Fred Weeks' final resting place. I'm going to give you guys, which when I read this story, I was like, I have to share with you because it made me laugh. It's a good revenge ghost story. And they say Fred still walks around here to this day. We're going to go find Fred Weeks. We're going to talk about his grave, his ghost. It's going to be fun today. Happy Halloween. Now, let's take a closer look. All right, now if you drive in to Greenwood Cemetery, go to the back, go straight to the back. Fred's in the back area. This is his tomb right here, his crypt. And there's a few palm trees there, but he's in the section D. All right, so Fred decided to buy some land. He was from the north. He decided to buy some land from 3 attorneys here in Central Florida. And when they sold him the land, they forgot to tell Mr. Fred one thing. His land was literally swampland. A lot of people don't realize this. Central Florida is nothing but sinkholes and swampland. And most everything is just kind of dirt moved around to kind of build on top of these things. But there are sinkholes everywhere. And it's you can't think about it. It's, you know, it's like these things happen. That's our earthquakes. You know, that's what we get here. People get things other places. We have swampland and sinkholes. And a lot of places here, you can dig a foot into the ground and it'll fill up with water by the next day. Walt Disney World, there's a reason Cinderella Castle is built on the 2nd level at Walt Disney World. And Fred felt like he was ripped off, and rightfully so, Fred. Rightfully so. They didn't tell you that. That's pretty bad business, because they knew they were getting you for a pretty penny. So what did Fred do? Fred buys a plot of land at the entrance to Greenwood Cemetery, and he put a tombstone with those 3 men's names on it. I think that's like the ultimate, like, revenge. Like, that's like, it's like the modern, like, that time, the modern diss track, you know, or like posting about someone online, or just kind of just so funny at the times. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy a plot, and I'm going to put a tombstone there, and I'm going to put those guys' names on there. And he didn't just do that. He also had a Bible verse put on this tombstone. And it was from Luke chapter 10, verse 30. A certain man went down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell among thieves. Oh my gosh. So obviously the 3 men bought back that land, and they removed the whole tombstone. I'm not sure exactly where that's at. That'd be cool if we could figure that out, you know. So around 1910, Mr. Weeks bought another piece of land. And this is it. And this is where he had his mausoleum. There's not a death year on here, but 1839. And we know it had to be after 1910, I guess, or around 1910. Maybe he knew. But if you look right there, there it is. The verse, the Bible verse. That's insane. They say that even in death, he couldn't let go of the scam. I don't blame him. You got to forgive and forget, but he let them know. And I think the 3 men's names were in here. And someone's like obviously removed it. It's wild. Fred S. Weeks. Someone even leaves some roses here. Every time I've been here, there's been some kind of flower stuff. I've been out here and seen this many times. I love it. He's still getting his revenge in death out here. I also read that he may have gotten some threats, and he was forced kind of to remove the men's names, but they were right there. I think that's so funny. Old Fred. This mausoleum's kind of crazy. I mean, it's a full size mausoleum out here for Fred. There's another mausoleum here that has a ghost story tied to it. Because Fred's not really a ghost story, it was kind of just more or less a tale of revenge in the afterlife. Which to me is always funny, you know, revenge. I hope you guys are enjoying this episode. I know this is a little different, but it's Halloween time and I love a good ghost story. It's funny to me when I'm out in cemeteries, my mind always plays tricks on me. It's interesting though, when you're in cemeteries in like Los Angeles, they don't feel real. They feel like a movie studio. Because it's, I don't know, you're sitting there looking at like Bela Lugosi or like Paul Rubens, and you're like, that's not real. Yeah, you know what I mean? And when you're at these kind of cemeteries, like I look around and I see like different tombstones and stuff, and some of them will kind of weird you out a little bit. Like you constantly feel like you see things. Your senses are definitely heightened. Yeah, like for instance, these with the angel wings. Some say you will see their hands change. This is not like a really good representation of it, but some will say like their hands will change, like her right hand would be up. You know, this is not like that kind, but they reminded me of those. Where it's an angel and they're like sleeping and on top of the grave, and they'll switch hands. People say they've seen. I did a video of that about one in Mississippi actually the last time I was there. But we've got to head over to the Wilmot Mausoleum for our ghost story. Okay, that freaked me out. Little plastic bag here came floating by really quickly. And you know, even the smallest cemeteries I feel have ghost stories. It's just the thing you do in your hometown, you know? Definitely people see things, you know, they get videos, and you know, I don't know, you kind of see those things and it makes you want to believe, but there's so much editing and things you can do to make videos look like anything's possible nowadays. But it's a pretty day. And today I just figured I wanted to show you guys this ghost story in this cemetery because it's been a minute since I've done this. And I really do like to do ghost stories and find out some local history anytime I'm down in this area near Greenwood. And today I just was like, you know what? I want to do this. I tried to do it a few weeks back actually to kick off the Halloween season here on the channel. And they actually closed this cemetery certain days, which I did not think you did. Sundays, this place is closed. All right, towards the beginning of the cemetery here, the front area, this is where the Wilmot Mausoleum is. This is section B here. Wow, this one's definitely interesting looking. Oh my gosh, you can see straight through in there. Wow. And there it is, Wilmot. Now there is a ghost story around this mausoleum. However, it does not have anything to do with the Wilmot family. Tragedy struck this family, and I do not want to talk about what happened, but the family is all buried here together. The family is all together now, and that's kind of all that matters. If you want to read about it, you can look it up online. I really would rather not talk about that because the ghost has nothing to do with the tragedy that the family encountered. So let's talk about the ghost. Now, around here in this cemetery, there are, you know, military folk buried. And there have been reports that around this mausoleum here, which is a very pretty mausoleum, that there's been sights of a man in military uniform walking around. And that's what got my attention. But as I was reading, you know, about the Wilmots and everything, oh man, it was really sad. But nonetheless, there are reports of a military person in uniform roaming around this mausoleum. And that's where it's like, do you believe? You know, you never know what could be lurking around any corner here in these cemeteries, you know? You just never know. It would be interesting to see, you know, something one day. I've never encountered anything in a I mean, well, things have happened. You know, my camera's cut off before when I was filming a cemetery one time, and things start moving really, really quick, and I don't know. I've experienced that. Like, I've experienced things moving and there was not the slightest bit of wind. That was interesting. But yeah, this mausoleum is very, very pretty. I mean, it's crazy looking. It's very interesting that they say they've seen the person in military uniform around this mausoleum, probably not knowing that there was tragedy in this family, you know, the people who have made those reports, which is kind of interesting. But what makes it more believable and interesting is right over there is all military burial. Straight ahead you can see the white tombstones. I think pretty much this whole back right section goes all the way back. It's for military. A lot of birds out here. Now, after you leave this mausoleum, if you turn to your right, you can see this is the Hand family here. And Elijah Hand was the very first undertaker in Orlando to use embalming. That's right, he was the very first undertaker in Orlando. And this was a time when if you passed on, you had days. You had literally days to get buried. With this modern technology that he brought to Orlando, it could delay the whole process. But there's something interesting with Mr. Elijah Hand. Him and his son, Kerry Hand, they both were in the funeral business together. And Elijah started his business in downtown Orlando. And it's still one of the most haunted places in downtown Orlando. We're gonna go see that. But first, we must stop by and pay our respects to someone before we leave Greenwood, as you should always do. You can't be a local and not come over and say hey to Joe Tinker. This is where Joseph B. Tinker is buried, famous member of one of baseball's greatest double play combinations from Tinker to Evers to Chance. A big leaguer from 1902 through 1916 with the Chicago Cubs and Cincinnati Reds and the Chicago Feds. Manager, Cincinnati 1913 and Chicago National League 1916. Shortstop on Cubs team that would win pennants in 1906, 07, 08, and 1910. People leave some baseballs for Joe Tinker, and that's also what Tinker Field is named after, or who. Joe's the reason they call it Tinker Field. That's right next to Camping World Stadium. So if you've ever gone to Camping World Stadium, you've seen Tinker Field. It was also the field they used at the beginning of Parenthood with Steve Martin. Now around back are the old headstones you can see here. But I think someone else put this nice headstone here later on. It's very, very nice. All right, we are downtown Orlando right now, and we are heading towards Orange Avenue, not too far from, wait a minute, side note, this was where Lil Wanda had her business in Problem Child 2. Squirrel. All right, let's see here. I can cross here. Yep. Yeah. Now down here, you got to think 1800s. This was kind of like the Old West of Orlando right here. Okay, there's the Ellis Building here, and we got to cross the road up here. But imagine 1800s. Yeah, like here. Look at this. This building was erected in 1884. Crazy. So we got to cross the street over here. We're not too far from an Ernest Saves Christmas filming location. And I had no clue that this is where it took place. Now, like I said earlier, not only did he have his funeral business upstairs where he did his embalming and his new gadgets and gizmos on Orlando, but people could walk into the first floor of his business and buy some furniture. He furnished a lot of houses in Orlando. It's kind of crazy. Let's walk down to where all this happened, shall we? Straight ahead, this is Ernest Saves Christmas spot right here. So what you were looking at is Orlando's first furniture store on the bottom and morgue up top. That's where he did all of his embalming work. And this would turn into different like clubs and lounges and things through over the years. This is 17 Pine, by the way. 17 West Pine Street in Orlando. Now it's Allure Restaurant and Lounge. See, it's still becoming different things, but people have said when they worked here they felt cool spots, you know, felt like they've seen kids. Actually, someone did a taping, a psychic in the 90s did a taping of their television show here upstairs where it all took place. That's wild, right? I've been here so many times because this is used in Ernest Saves Christmas. Harmony, the girl in the movie, she comes walking out of the restaurant right there, and the guy tries to catch up with her, and she runs down and grabs Ernest and Santa's attention by running out the street, and she hops in the car, and away they go. So that's what I know this building as. That's crazy. And across from that is Cocktail and Screams. Used to be a venue right there. My band played that venue way back in the day. And this is it. Now Carrie, Elijah's son, he would take over and he would eventually build this building, which was the Carrie Hand Funeral Home. Carrie Hand came to Orlando in 1907 and bought his father's embalming business in 1914. He opened this funeral home in 1920, designed by the architect F.H. Trimble, in the Tuscan style with a chapel, the first of its kind in Florida. The crematorium, built in 1925, was the first in the entire South. The Carrie Hand Funeral Home operated here until 1987. I wonder if that chapel, you know, the style with the chapel, is still here. Like, where was the chapel? Maybe here to the left. Maybe this was the chapel. Isn't that wild? Now it's the tech hub. But upstairs is where they would do all of the work, and that was the funeral home. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, these places have to be, you know, if anything's going to be haunted, it's going to be that. But it's weird to see these other buildings here towering over this building. 1920, huh? That's crazy, crazy, crazy. There's a plaque across here I'm going to go over and read as well, talking about Elijah. Let's illegally cross the street here. And there it is. The Elijah Hand Furniture Store. Oh, they don't even mention it? Oh yeah, okay, they do. Elijah Hand came from Indiana in 1885. 1885? He opened a furniture and undertaking establishment, a typical combination, as similar skills were required to build furniture and caskets. His embalming expertise changed burial practices in Orlando, allowing funerals to be delayed until out-of-towners arrived. In 1905, he purchased the Magnolia Hotel. It was built in 1881, and that's located on this property. That was crazy. By 1907, Hand moved the hotel to the rear of the lot to construct the late Victorian brick facade which merged the two structures. Wow. Okay, so he bought that in the back there too, I guess. He purchased the Magnolia Hotel. It's built in 81, located on this property, and he moved the hotel to the rear. So this was also a hotel at one time. Jeez! That's Orlando for you. I want to look at this. This building over here has the last name Tinker above it. I wonder if that has to do with Joe Tinker. We'll have to find some more history. I love doing these history videos, but yeah, dude, this is the front door. Oh my gosh, you could walk in there and buy a couch or get embalmed. Okay, so he moved the hotel in the back And I think right here next to this, where this mural is now, there was a building here prior. All this was not just an empty lot. This was a building, and that might have been what he was talking about. That might have been what they were talking about in the plaque. But there it is. So if you ever drive down Pine Street, that's the first funeral home with embalming in Orlando, the first of its kind. Pine Street has some ghosts, because down the street, heading back to where I parked, there's another haunted building down here that I didn't think I was going to mention on this video until I realized that the Elijah Hand building was on Pine. Everything here is haunted. This straight ahead is the Parliament House, the P House, next to SAC Comedy. And I want to say this building is something that I found that was haunted. But there is one for sure down the street. I'm going to read this plaque as I wait for the hand to turn green. Oh yeah, real quick. Ernest driving right here. Harmony Star. Boom. Stops right here, gets in the car, and they drive away. And now we have a green sign. Let's see what this was prior to being the P House. The Phillips Theater. That's right. It was an old theater. The old theater here. Yep. I don't think that's haunted. Could be wrong. Probably is haunted. I think having an old theater that was haunted is more fun than having an old theater that's not haunted. I do love downtown Orlando though, because there's like maybe 20, 30 people down here walking around, but I can walk straight ahead without anyone bothering me. It's sad, but it's nice when you're filming. All right, we are very close to the building that I know for sure is haunted. I think this is one of the oldest buildings in Orlando too, but this is the Keene Rogers building. And on the second floor, Mr. Rogers had a gentleman's club up here. And he would lie to his wife and say they weren't really doing that up there, and she knew. And she was down here, and when he died, they say that she wanted to haunt and terrorize the patrons to this day. Now it's a City Arts Cafe and City Arts. They have arts and stuff in here. But upstairs was the first gentleman's club in Orlando. Yeah, the Rogers building's so cool. It just looks like a haunted building. So old, and the architecture's so cool. It's interesting, the green and red they picked as the paint scheme on this. Looks like Christmas always on this building, but yeah, it has some history, some dark type history here. And it's cool how you can see like all that's just like the facade kind of thing. That's crazy. See, that wasn't so scary. Just a little lighthearted ghost story. A little local lure, if you will. Happy Halloween, everybody. Got some travels coming up this week. I'll be out of Orlando. See you on the next episode. Until then, stay weird. Goodbye.